Music, the umbilical cord of the Indo Caribbean people. This was a talk to have been delivered at the Banaras Hindu University, but had to be aborted due to lack of AV support. I would like to acknowledge my co-author, Dr. Radhika Mahes from Trinidad and Tobago. The Caribbean is not a country, but rather a group of islands straddled between North America and South America, which were colonized either by the Spanish, English, French, or Dutch. In fact, mainland South America has British Guyana, now called Guyana, Dutch Guyana, now called Suriname, and French Guyana, which form part of the Caribbean. When we speak of the West Indies, we're referring to the British West Indies, or territories that were previously colonized by the British, most of which are now independent, with their own government, passports, currencies, and even vote in the UN. The only time that they come together is through the University of the West Indies, which belongs to 17 countries, and through Cricket West Indies, which is played widely throughout the former British colonies. Chattel slavery was the greatest travesty to mankind. Introduced initially by the Portuguese, it was adopted by all colonists. It involved capturing and transporting slaves from Africa to work as forced unpaid laborers, primarily on the sugar plantations in the Caribbean. It involved the loss of all human rights and dignity, and forced upon them the language and religion of the colonists. They were in fact not allowed to practice their own traditions. When slavery was abolished in 1834 to 1838, there was a shortage of workers on the plantations, a void that was ultimately filled by indentured laborers or contracted laborers who were brought from India and also from China. Those from India are referred to as the Girmitias. They mainly came from eastern Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and Jharkhand in modern-day India. In fact, 75% of them. In Jamaica, almost 90%, with the remainder coming from Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh in modern-day India. The first set of Indian indentured laborers arrived in Guyana, albeit informally, in 1838, followed by Jamaica in 1845. You will notice the use of black rings for those countries where Indians form the majority or a large proportion of the population, and white rings where they form a significant minority. Later in 1845, they arrived in Trinidad, followed by Belize, Guadeloupe, where you see a yellow ring because this is a French territory and the indentured laborers were brought mainly from Pondicherry, and ultimately to Suriname, which was a Dutch colony. Having arrived in 1838, a total of almost 240,000 Indian indentured laborers arrived in Guyana during the indentureship period. Jamaica received its first indentured laborers on May 9, 1845, ultimately getting 36,412. Trinidad, whose first laborers arrived on May 30, 1845, got almost 145,000, with Guadeloupe getting 42,326, Belize almost 41,000, although they did not all directly come from India. In fact, some came from Jamaica after a hurricane hit the island. And Suriname received the first of their 35,000 in 1873. I should point out that other Caribbean islands also received indentured laborers from India. Also, all the voices and videos that you will hear or see in this presentation are those of the descendants of the Girmitias. Many of these are third, fourth, fifth, or even sixth generation descendants. The arrival of the Indians to the Caribbean was not necessarily a welcome one. In fact, in Jamaica in 1842, 3 years prior to their arrival, Reverend William Knibb and Company, and I should point out that he is honored by having a high school named after him, stated that the immigration of a number of heathen pagan foreigners with their religious superstitions, idolatry, and wickedness will act most injuriously on the morals of the black inhabitants of the island and hinder very much the efforts that are now in operation for their moral and religious improvement. In fact, the British described the Indians as illiterate, unskilled, destitute, heathen pagan idolaters who were wicked and uncultured. What the Indians did bring, however, was their village culture, arguably the longest living civilization in the world, and transposed it to the villages of the Caribbean. These uncultured, illiterate Indians brought with them musical instruments and religious texts, as can be seen from this village scene of Jamaica in the late 19th century. In fact, we still have in our possession this Urdu script Ramayana, written in the 1890s and brought by the Girmitias. One wonders how many Urdu Ramayans could be found in present-day India. The village culture included musical forms of Biraha, Sohar, Chautal, and Ramayan, recited in the evenings in almost every plantation around the Caribbean. In fact, the practice of Batak music still prevails, as can be seen from this clip from Suriname. Music and dance remain the umbilical cord with the motherland for the Girmitias and their descendants. Different forms of folk dance were performed in festivities as well as in the villages. The sword dance and the Katkora dance continue to be performed around the Caribbean today. Also performed were dance forms such as Janghia and Nachanya. The Janghia presented is to a Biraha, followed by the Nachanya dance, which you will note is being performed by a male. Females typically did not perform in the villages, as it was considered an activity of ill repute. Males therefore dressed up as females and did the performances. Hey bata hey pa kari karila tum dekhe mohan gunshila chavaya kutmul ke naze nakariya baya bansi baje By the third generation or so, Hindi and Bhojpuri started to diminish in Guyana, Trinidad, and Jamaica, though both languages remained strong in Suriname. Music remained the link with the motherland, but people started singing songs without knowing their meanings. Whereas sur and tal, that is notes, beat and rhythm, were preserved, and pronunciation of words were excellent, due to the lack of understanding of the meaning of the lyrics started getting mixed up. This 1950s ghazal by Talat Mahmood, is being sung with passion and perfection, but in the second stanza, the lyrics which are presented to your right are completely mixed up due to lack of understanding.
तस्वीर बनाता हूँ तस्वीर नहीं बनती तस्वीर नहीं बनती तस्वीर बनाता हूँ तस्वीर नहीं बनती तस्वीर नहीं बनती एक ख्वाब से देसा है तावीर नहीं बनती तस्वीर नहीं बनती संभल के लिए मेरे मैं हो गया दीवाना मैं जब हो बाके मैं हो गया दीवाना अब दिल के बदिल जाते पर के तेरे दिखाना मुझसे तुम मेरी बिगड़ी तस्वीर नहीं बनती तस्वीर नहीं बनती
Ghazals and old Bollywood songs remained a lifeline all the way up to the 1970s. But as language was lost, and with it the meaning of the songs, many English words started being interjected and mixed with Hindi lyrics. One also saw the introduction of the Caribbean beat, as is evidenced in this very popular song by Sundar Popo.
नाना नानी घर से निकले धीरे धीरे चलती है मधुरा के दुकान में दोनों जाके बैठे हैं आगे आगे नाना चले नानी going behind नाना drinking white swan नानी drinking wine आगे आगे नाना चले नानी going behind नाना drinking white swan नानी drinking wine.
West Indies and India cricket matches started being played in 1948, but it wasn't until 1971, when the Indians toured the West Indies, that they won their first series. Cricket remained another link with the motherland for Indo-Caribbean people, and in celebration of that victory, the Sundar Popo song got replaced with names of cricketers.
वादे का चले आगे आगे सुबह गुन भी है कान्हा drinking white wine Durrani drinking wine वादे का चले आगे आगे सुबह गुन भी है कान्हा drinking white wine Durrani drinking wine. When they went Barbados that was bowling fast when they went Barbados that was bowling fast Bongs Gavaska hit him six. So Nearly cried, boy. He said, this look like licks. You better take a rest, boy, before you get sick. The great India bowler, Abid Ali. The great India bowler, Abid Ali. He proved to the people he could rally. He bowled Morris Foster when he was 99. He put back the Indians right back in the land. So what's gonna be hand? Kanhai drinking white one, Durrani drinking wine.
Whereas Bollywood songs lost their meaning, religious songs remained pristinely preserved. They continue to be sung in mandirs, mosques, religious shows, and on the radio. Religious expression remained strong. In fact, while driving recently in Trinidad, I wound down my window only to hear the following blaring in a neighborhood. Youngsters continue to play musical instruments and sing bhajans in mandirs, even if the lyrics need to be projected on the screens. Whereas Sur and Tal is maintained, what is incredible is that these are perhaps 6th or 7th generation descendants of the Girmitias, some 175 years after the arrival of their first forefathers, who have maintained their cultural practices in a most impeccable manner. Islamic devotional songs continue to be sung through qasidas and other forms of music. In true Caribbean style, they are sung by all. As you can hear in the following clips, Geeta Bhisham and Karishma Dhotal, ladies with Hindu names, sing these Islamic devotional songs.
उठाता है यार मोहम्मद के जलवा दिखाता है आज मोहम्मद का जलवा दिखाता है आज उधर भी नियाज़ी है
In the same vein, Kathleen Sultan, a young lady with a Christian first name, and her sister sing a very popular Islamic song, followed with a twist which is truly Caribbean and so special about our culture. As time passed on, Indo-Caribbean identity became expressed through chutney music, where rhythms remained Indian, but words were English, or traditional folk songs were sung with the Caribbean beat. This remains a dominant feature of Indo-Caribbean identity.
Two brothers, one mission. Music boys. Tum ta na 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 ta na. ये दिल है दीवाना. Hey hey hey. Tum ta na 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 ta na. ये दिल है दीवाना. Feel the vibe. Every day, every time, like a boss we gon' make a line. And every day, every time, knock a thing here we make a line.
Put your hand in the air. Put your hand in the air. भैया के साथ मैं नहीं आऊँ बड़ा मजा आई टूट गई चोरी कलैया में टूट गई चोरी कलैया में बड़ा मजा आई
Whereas most people lost the language, Others went on to refine their skills through classical training and language training, very often through the cultural centers at the Indian High Commissions and embassies in the region. Others went on to refine their skills through scholarships to India.
सरकती जाए रुख से नकार आहिस्ता आहिस्ता जवां होने लगे जब वो तो हमसे कर लिया पर्दा हया यकलख्त आई और शमा
कभी कभी मेरे दिल में ख्याल आता है
कभी कभी मेरे दिल में ख्याल आता है कि जैसे तुझको बनाया गया है मेरे लिए.
Forgive me for sounding repetitive, but these are the descendants of the Girmitias who have maintained their culture. They have in fact had interactions with persons from India, either in the region or in India. But who could differentiate their performances from any of those in India today? Tal has been maintained through the beating of tasa drums or dholak, nagara and tablas, and also through Caribbean innovations. The following sequences are from a mandir in Jamaica and cricket grounds in Trinidad and Guyana. Please note that the performers are multi-ethnic, Indo-Caribbean and Afro-Caribbean performers. In the end, you will hear from a steel drum, an innovation of Trinidad made from old oil barrels, which produce the most melodious sounds. Indian music is inextricable from cricket in Trinidad and Guyana. Be it an innings break or the fall of wickets, Hindi songs or English tunes are played interchangeably, especially at the after-match festivities. Wherever there are large ethnic groups, political tensions arise, and that is no different in the Caribbean, especially in Trinidad, Guyana and Suriname, where parties are affiliated with particular ethnic groups, even though members of each ethnic group are present in the other parties. This political rally of a party associated with Indo-Trinidadians took on a cultural twist, not only with the dances, but with changing of lyrics from a popular Bollywood song to lyrics with political meaning. West Indian identity or rather West Indian East Indian identity, is unique. Where language has been lost, religion is not, and music remains the umbilical cord with the motherland. Though many received classical teaching of music, most have maintained their folk culture. In fact, this is considered by many to be, in quotes, the Indian national anthem of Trinidad.
The Indian anthem is here.
Let the dancing begin.
नज़ारे अपनी मस्तियाँ लुटा लुटा के सो गई सितारे अपनी रोशनी लुटा लुटा के सो गई हर एक शम्मा चल चुकी ना जाने तुम कब आओगे तड़प रहे हैं हम यहाँ तड़प रहे हैं हम यहाँ तुम्हारे इंतजार में
I conclude by quoting from the book Home Away from Home, 150 Years of Indian Presence in Jamaica, written by Lakshmi and Akshai.mansingh, my parents. Each indentured worker was more than skilled for the job she was contracted to do. Their contribution to Caribbean society is a testimony to their professional skills and knowledge about their social and cultural heritage. I leave you with a biraha written to capture the essence of the Girmitias in the Caribbean.
आजा आदि चाचा चाची भारत से आए हैं काली पानी पार करके ट्रिनिडाद में आए हैं काली पानी पार करके ट्रिनिडाद में आए हैं ट्रिनिडाद में आके देखो घर बसाए हैं ट्रिनिडाद में आके देखो घर के बसाए हैं मेहनत करके आज ही आजा लड़कन को पढ़ाए हैं मेहनत करके आज ही आजा लड़कन को पढ़ाए है कोई टीचर लाया कोई बिजनेस चलाए है कोई टीचर लाया कोई बिजनेस चलाए है कोई टीचर लाया बिजनेस चलाए है कोई टीचर लाया कोई बिजनेस चलाए है कोई डॉक्टर जज कोई मजिस्ट्रेट बनाए है कोई डॉक्टर जज कोई मजिस्ट्रेट बनाए है विद्या मैंने प्राइम मिनिस्टर बनाए है कोई पंडित कोई मौलवी बनाए हैं रामायण कुरान को धर्म बदलाए हैं ये धनी है भारत देश हमारा मोरे भैया की धनी है चुने